What is going on, Wastelanders? It is me, the Lone Vault Wanderer, and I have even more Fallout 4 news for you. And yes, it is about another Reddit post that is allegedly leaking a bunch of information about Fallout 4. Now, I will leave the link to that post in the description below so you can check it out yourself, but to save you the hassle, I'm going to tell you right now, just like I did in my last video, that this post is complete and utter bullshit. I just made a video about a similar Reddit post that over a year ago was actually admitted to be fake by the poster himself. And in that video, I also explained how anybody can create a fake Reddit account, talk about a game like Fallout 4 which everybody is excited about but hasn't been revealed yet, and make a post that looks somewhat legitimate to try and fool the fans. Well, it's not going to happen because Fallout fans are beyond that. Well, I hope so anyways, which is exactly why I'm making this video. Just to confirm, do not fall for this bullshit. There are so many red flags that I'm about to talk to you about, and that many other people have already pointed out in that Reddit comment section and have just torn the particular post to shreds. So I hope to do the same right now as quick as I can. Now, I'm going to be extracting what I think is the main information from this and the main red flags, but as I said, if you would like to read it yourself, click on the link in the description below. So this post starts off by saying, ask one of the Bethesda employees about me, i.e. Sandra Reed, and they will confirm that I worked for Bethesda. Now, first of all, no fan is going to ask an employee of Bethesda whether that particular person worked there, and no fan is going to ask Bethesda itself, whether it be their administrative staff or what have you, about a particular employee that used to work there and the circumstances of their release. Because that stuff is confidential and privileged information. No person at Bethesda would actually do that, so the only reason why this poster is saying it because they think by saying ask Bethesda about me is a foolproof plan for people to believe that this post is actually legitimate. Second of all, this person is saying that they are leaking all of this information in revenge for them firing her because she released confidential information, and now she is unemployed with 2 kids thanks to those fools. And moreover, she goes on to say that that confidential information was actually those casting call scripts that were released to Kotaku several months back. She's actually claiming credit for the leaks of those documents to Kotaku. Now, there are so many red flags in this, I'm just going to point out a couple of them. First of all, when you join a company like Bethesda or any other gaming developer for that matter, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. That NDA remains in effect long after you leave the company. So why would this particular person risk their livelihood, risk being sued, and risk not being able to support their 2 kids by releasing a bunch of information like this? Second of all, if they really were the person that actually released those documents to Kotaku, why didn't she come out about it then and there and say that she was the one, instead of relying on Kotaku to keep her identity secret? And for that matter, was she fired before she released those documents or after she released those documents? Because if the reason for her firing was because of the release of those Kotaku documents, then why didn't she come out about it then and there and say, yeah, it was me, I did it, I want to get revenge for them? But I digress, let's move on. This person goes on to say that all of the recent leaks about Fallout 4 are true. In Fallout 4, you are in Boston. That city keeps popping up again and again. Every time, and I said this in my last video, every time there is a Fallout 4 leak or rumor and Boston is associated with that leak or rumor, the story eventually turns out to be fake. It happened with that Reddit post I talked about in the last video. It happened with that rumor that Bethesda employees were scouting the Boston area. All of those rumors historically have turned out to be fake. And yes, for all we know, Boston could in fact be the setting for Fallout 4. But the point I'm trying to make is that we have had no concrete evidence that actually suggests that. Until we get something officially from Bethesda that confirms that Boston is actually the setting, any leak or any rumor that actually says Boston is indeed the setting for Fallout 4 is probably fake, because historically that has been the case. Now let's move on. The game takes place in 2287, exactly 10 years after Fallout 3, and the player character will finally talk and narrate his storyline. So what this person is saying is that Bethesda is going to go away from one of the things that makes it Bethesda in Fallout 3. in Skyrim, and I'm pretty sure in past Elder Scrolls games as well, the protagonist has never spoken. So why is this going to be the case now? Do you know what I think that's happened here? That person has saw those Kotaku script documents that were released, noticed that the player character actually spoke in those lines of dialogue, and has simply adapted that into this particular post. Now, I'm telling you that this is probably bullshit, because casting call script documents typically are just fluff. They do not actually refer to what's going to be happening in the game itself. They are just random points of dialogue that are just used for casting call purposes only. And the major reason for that is because typically a bunch of people are involved in the casting call process. So why would they risk the actual plot and story of the game being leaked during that process, especially like, for example, if a person didn't get the part and they were upset and decided to talk to a friend who talked to a friend, and what do you know, that is released to the public. So what it seems like to me is that this person has just tried to capitalize on what was said in those casting call documents to make this look somewhat legitimate. Well, sorry, it is just not going to be the case. Now, they go on to talk about a bunch of different storylines and plots and what factions and enemies are returning, but a couple of more red flags that I wanted to point out is that, first of all, they say that the map size of Fallout 4 is about 3 times the size of Skyrim. Now, somebody in the comment section posted that a map which is 3 times as large as Skyrim is impossible, because Skyrim took 3 years in full active development to develop, and Bethesda Game Studios could not possibly triple that map size in just 1 year. Now, I don't believe that 1 year is quite accurate. It would be a similar development time to what Skyrim was, or even to what Fallout 3 was, but the fact still stands. There would be no way for Bethesda, being the company that it is, to like to cram as much as they can into their map sizes to create a map size that is 3 times as large as Skyrim. My best bet is that Fallout 4 map size will probably be as large, or just a little bit larger than Skyrim, but certainly not 3 times as large. Moreover, this person says that the first version will be released on PS4, Xbox One and PC that uses a brand new engine. Now, that is somewhat credible in my opinion. I do believe that Bethesda is going to develop a new engine, or at the very least take the Creation Engine from the ground up, tear it apart and create essentially a new engine which is optimized for next gen hardware. However, this person says that no assets or scripts are being used from Fallout 3, New Vegas or Skyrim. Now, I find that very hard to believe. Usually game developers use what they have in the past as a base to improve upon, because creating things completely from scratch takes years. I just can't see every single asset developed for Fallout 4 is completely new and does not at all, at least in some way, improve upon what is already existent within Bethesda's library from Fallout 3 and from Skyrim. Secondly, they say that Fallout 4 will also be available on PS3 and Xbox 360, which is also going to be developed by Bethesda Game Studios, but will release a year after the advanced version, running on the same creation engine as Skyrim. Oh wow, that is just completely nonsensical right there. First of all, game developers even now are starting to move away from the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Just look at E3 and how many games were actually revealed to be coming to Xbox 360 and PS3. From memory, it's like Assassin's Creed Unity, it's like FIFA 15, but other than that, the list is getting smaller and smaller. So if Fallout 4 is going to be released in 2015, like this particular post says, do you really think that the game is still going to be released on aging and old hardware? No. In that interview with Todd Howard, he pretty much confirmed, in my eyes anyways, that they're excited about the prospect of next-gen hardware, so it is very unlikely that they're going to devote resources and devote manpower and womanpower to developing the same game but having to dumb it down on older past-gen hardware. There is no way Bethesda is actually going to sacrifice the time that could be spent on Fallout 4 and creating an even better game for next-gen hardware. Thirdly, this person says that you will be able to import your Fallout 3 saves and adapt choices you made from that game for Fallout 4. and this means that some additional characters could pop up depending on whether or not you kill them in Fallout 3. So how is that going to work? Because if I have my save files on my 360, how are those going to be transferred to my Xbox One? Am I going to have to use my external hard drive to be able to transfer those saves? And for that matter, how are PS3 fans going to be doing that? Because by my recollection, the PS3 does not have external hard drive support, so that feature would just not be able to work. Yes, it could work on the PS3 and 360, but that argument is predicated on the point that the game is going to be released on those consoles, and as I just said, that is very, very unlikely to be the case. Even more so, and this is so funny, just coming out of the strife Ubisoft has just gotten themselves into, apparently in Fallout 4, you will only be able to play as a man because the storyline requires it. But after the main story is over, you can have a gender change. That is the most stupid thing that I've ever heard, and whoever made this really needs to think their hoax over. Really, you can't play as a woman, even though Fallout 3 allowed it, even though Skyrim allowed it, even though New Vegas allowed it, even though most games developed by Bethesda Game Studios allowed it, and in this current society, do you really think Bethesda, as a reputable game developer, is going to actually risk its reputation by releasing a game that does not allow you to play as a woman? Could you imagine the outcry and the uproar from such a decision? We already know how many people are criticizing Ubisoft for not allowing people in Assassin's Creed Unity to be able to play as a woman. So why is Bethesda going to make that exact same mistake? And why, after you finish the main story, you can have a gender change? That is absolutely absurd. I cannot even imagine a game that has done that or will ever do that, especially in today's society. Now, this person has also released a quote-unquote roadmap which is planned out for Fallout 4, and how in June 2015, which coincides with E3 2015, how there will be a Fallout 4 reveal but only a trailer. Then the next month after that, there will be some gameplay trailers, and then in August there will be more information, and then in October 2015 there will be a PS4, Xbox One, PC release. Do you know what this sounds similar to? This sounds similar to exactly what happened with Fallout 3. One of the major trailers were revealed in E3 of 2008 during Microsoft's conference, and then the game was released in October of that year. So what this person has seemed to have done is like, oh, I'm going to do a bit of research, see what Bethesda has done in the past, and just copy the exact same plan in this particular hoax of mine. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. And then something I actually forgot to mention is that she said that the game is at 40% completion, yet is estimating a release in just over a year. So you're telling me that Bethesda is planning to finish 60% of their game in the next year? Are you absolutely out of your mind? That makes no sense whatsoever. 60% of the game. If the game was actually going to be released next year, you'd at least think it's about 60% finished, or 55%, or maybe, 65 or 70% finished, but not 40% completion. Come on, you think we're stupid? And another point, this person says that Brian Wilkes from Fallout 3, do you remember him? He will be returning as a 19-year-old mercenary. Now, Brian Wilkes was actually 8 years old. So if this game takes place 10 years after the events of Fallout 3, Brian Wilkes would actually be 18 years old, because he was 8 years old. That's simple maths. 8 plus 10 is 18. So where did that extra year come from? I think I know. I think it came from your lack of research behind this particular hoax. So there are so many more things that I could say about this, but I want to cut the video there. Everyone, just don't believe this nonsense. It is the same crap again. I guarantee you that eventually this story is either going to fizzle out, or it's going to be revealed to be fake by the person herself or himself. But clearly there is one thing that we know. This is absolutely fake. Don't believe it. So anyways guys, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Check the post out yourself, have a laugh, and I'll see you next time. Keep fighting the good fight.